Hello and welcome back. Um, okay then, let's get to it. Star Trek Discovery. Bryan Fuller is no longer the showrunner of Star Trek Discovery. This is discouraging news. He remains as executive producer. I'm certain that the project is sufficiently far along that his vision, so to speak, will continue with the new showrunners, and the new showrunners have worked with him very, very closely down the years. So, as transitions go, it shouldn't be too difficult. Um, but it is discouraging news. Bryan Fuller, I think, was in many Star Trek fans' minds an ideal choice to look after the show, and it's disappointing that he's not able to do that with more hands on than he would do with the other shows that he's doing. And you do wonder. You can't help but wonder whether or not there's been a difference of opinion. Um, there's no way of knowing, frankly, is there? Maybe at some point in the future, hopefully when the show is really, really successful, they'll sort of like lift the lid on it and they'll go into the details, and there'll be exposés and documentaries, and it'll all be fun, and we can all look back and enjoy hearing those stories in the same way that we enjoy watching Chaos on the Bridge, which is all about TNG first and second series and how difficult that was. And it is worth bearing in mind that I'm sure in a lot of cases this happens with a lot of shows. They lose key personnel just before the project's due to start um, for any number of reasons. Um, that industry over there, I mean, it really is a conveyor belt. They turn out an awful lot of shows. And I'm sure that there have been plenty of good shows that have had similar problems and they've been overcome. And in fact, there's examples in Star Trek where they've overcome in similar adversity. I've just suggested TNG. I'm also going to suggest to you Voyager. Voyager had a lead up until they started filming, and they had a lead character, and then she left, Genevieve Bujold, because she wasn't able to manage the schedule, and they had to bring in Kate Mulgrew, and I mean that show turned out pretty well. There were arguments over the lead in TNG, and that show turned out pretty well. The Star Trek original series was cancelled and then reinstated, right? Sort of. Well, the pilot, it needed two pilots to get going. So, the first pilot wasn't good enough. Well, that's a matter of opinion, but they rejected the first pilot. And this is a franchise that has a history of difficult starts. Star Trek 2, was made on a shoestring budget, and it turned out to be not just one of the best Star Trek movies, or the best Star Trek movie, but probably one of the best movies of its genre. And I'm actually sure, in many people's eyes, one of the best films there's ever been. So, I really don't think there's any grounds to be necessarily apprehensive about it. But there's no doubt that it's a bit of a blow. What I would like to see quite soon, over the next few weeks, is I would like to see some announcements. I'd like to see perhaps another teaser. I'd like to see some more graphics, maybe some ship designs, maybe some stuff to, restore a bit of confidence in the project. But ultimately, they're just going to have to crack on and get it done. I don't share any concerns that the show will not get made. Commercial deals have been done for the international distribution of this show. Contracts have been signed, and I would imagine that money has changed hands. And I think that it's going to make it very difficult to cancel this show before it's made. It's not like Phase 2, where they have plans for that TV show and then the plans changed. Commitments have been made. This would be a horrific climb down. So from a PR point of view, the loss of face on CBS's part, it's too much to think about. So this show is going to happen. I'm absolutely convinced about that. But obviously, we will never know what it will be like without Bryan Fuller. Although it's worth pointing out that he's on the show. So the message is, come on, let's see some gear, get some content out there, make some announcements about casting. Let's put a bit of confidence back into the Star Trek fans, because they are, after all, your core market. They're not going to be the show. They're not going to make the show a massive success on their own, but without them, you're not going to be able to. You haven't got a starting point. Your biggest marketing tool can be the Star Trek fans, and it can also be your weakest as well. So everyone's waiting to see what's happened. So let's see some quality gear. What we do also know is that there's going to be another comic book launched in spring 2017, so roughly the same time as Discovery is launched, and that's going to be between IDW and Dark Horse, who are combining to make another Star Trek crossover, this time with aliens. Oh yes. So we'll be looking forward to that immensely. I will anyway. I don't know about we. There's no royal we. There's no one else here. But I'll be massively looking forward to that. So yeah, that's the Tipton brothers who are going to be writing that, and I'm sure that will be good stuff as well. So there's plenty to be positive about. So don't be sad and don't be worried. It'll be okay. Star Trek Discovery is going to happen, and hopefully very soon we'll start to see some pictures, some announcements, and just get a better, fuller idea. Fuller, no pun intended, about what the FullerVerse is going to be like. Yeah, FullerVerse? Has that ever been used before? I don't know. We're using it now. Okay, I'm going to go now, because you should always leave on a bad pun if you possibly can. So until the next bad pun, it's goodbye.